Good evening. It is Tuesday, March 26th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. I'd like to bring this regularly scheduled meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order with item 1, a roll call.
Delory,
Here?
Mata,
Here.
Stiegel,
Here.
Onken, Shiel, here. James, Serrato.
Here.
Okay, we have 5 members, so that is a quorum. We'll proceed with the meeting. Item number 2, approval of minutes. Approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission March 12th, 2024, regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion to approve and seconded by Commissioner Serrano. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried 5-0. Item number 3, citizen comment period with the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comments from citizens early in the agenda of regular meetings. Speakers are provided with an opportunity to speak during the time period on any agenda item or any other matter concerning city business, and they must observe the 3-minute time limits. Do we have anybody from the citizens of Kyle? Seeing no citizens wanting to speak at this time, I'm going to close the citizen comment period and move on to item 4. Item 4, consider impossible action. Number 2, consider approval of a conditional use permit to construct a 32,529 square foot expansion and reconfiguration of the curbside pickup area located at 5401 South 1626. This is HEB Plus CUP 23 0098. And I think we have a presentation from Jason Lutz. Mr. Lutz?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Good evening. Let me bring up just a quick second. I'll pull up my presentation. Okay, so we're here tonight. Again, this is a CUP for building materials. The existing HEB site is doing an expansion, and they are in our I-35 overlay zoning district. Sorry, give me 1 second. This is in my way. So the applicant is looking at a 32,000 square foot expansion of the existing facility. They're also looking at reconfiguring the existing curbside pickup area, moving that from the back to the side of the building. The property is zoned RS. Again, it is in the I-35 overlay district. So as you know, this district has additional standards for landscaping, building materials, and circulation of the property. Most specifically, it requires brick stone, and it has a preferred color scheme, but the preferred, not required on the color scheme. So they're looking at an addition. They're going to include multiple materials on this one. There's limestone veneer, cast stone, fiber cement board brick, corrugated metal panels, stucco, CMU, EIFS, and then a traditional glazing. So you can see here the existing stores kind of highlighted in the light white. The orange is the new expansion areas for the facilities. Some of them are additional shopping areas. Some of them are cool storage spaces. So it just kind of depends on what you're interested in. But again, our real focus isn't the expansion, but the exterior. So you can take a look here. This is the front elevation of the HEB Plus. The colored areas are what's going to be the new facade. The grayed out area that you see or white is the existing. There won't be any change to what is there. This is the curbside elevation for your reference. So this is, if you're on 35, this is what you'll be seeing as you drive by. This is the rear elevation on Old Trail Bridge. And then the interior side elevation, as we call it, it's the side facing the rest of the development. Here's the material breakdown. So you can see the elevations are broken down by each elevation is broken down by their material type. So 16% stucco, tile panels 9%, stone veneers at 11%. And then there's the curbside elevation. The fresh elevation is actually that kind of interior side, and there's 2 sections on there, and then there's the building total. So, as you know, the applicant is requesting this be presented as is. That do not necessarily meet the strict requirements of our overlay building, but there are some language in our code. They don't have to bring the entire building up to site. It's not a 50% increase in that project. There are some outstanding issues still, comments that are pending on these proposed site plan, most to do with sidewalk placement. Staff is requesting or requiring the sidewalk along Old Bridge Trail Road, and then on the I-35 frontage. So sidewalks we require on all frontages. Because of the additional developments that are in the area, this is going to be a big ask or big need for the city. So again, some minor landscaping stuff that's not ready for your approval tonight. So staff is asking that if you make a motion to approve this, that you also include a motion to let staff handle that through the development site plan process. It's generally the way we handle most of those, but we do show you all those landscape plans on new construction in case you'll have any concerns. But tonight, we're not ready for that. So I'll be willing to answer any questions you have. The applicant's available as well if you have any questions for them.
Commissioner Shield.
First of all, how is that expansion going to affect the traffic flow through that curbside area? Is that going to take away some of the parking spaces that you have for it?
You want to answer that? So the relocation is going to move from the back to the front. So they're adding some more circulation routes.
Well, it's already in the side. It's not in the back, it's in the side.
Well,
That's where everybody parks anyway.
Okay, sorry.
The I-35 adjacent.
Yes.
Is what I'm considering the side.
Okay, yes.
So that's where all the parking for curbside is now.
So they are reconfiguring that. I don't know the total number of spaces. Are you been able to answer that one? And that's the one where we're really needing to reconfigure on the
Okay,
landscaping.
all right. That's part of
Our
the
regs
landscaping portion?
require
Okay.
one tree. Every space has to be within 50 feet of a tree. They didn't have any trees in there, so that may change a little bit, but it's not gonna
Okay.
change overall.
I just
their
know that,
overall
adding that
parking
many
count-
more means, that much more space, that's probably gonna take out some of the current parking spaces, and then, how that flow, because right now the flow technically is you have to go all the way around the building to get to that and come out towards the south. So
Yes.
you can't turn, you're not supposed to anyway, turn north into curbside. It's all supposed to go around the building. And that's why I just want to
And
double
this
check
one-
about the,
This one is going to be a one-way in, so I don't know if you can see it on this image here. I don't know if I can zoom in. So they will come in and go towards the back of the building along the side, and then they can go back and forth, but ultimately it will loop them out back the rear. They won't be.
oh, so they'll be,
coming back.
okay, so it'll be looping to the north.
Yes, ma'am.
And is there, where is the closest cutout to the road?
Right now, they're still going to use the existing cutout that's there, so they'll traverse through the entire back of the property and then come. They're not planning any new curb cuts at this time. I do know there's some discussion moving forward with them about possibly replatting, doing some stuff with some easements. So maybe at that point they reconfigure that. But at this point, they're not looking at an additional curb cut. The city is probably at the point where they've got as many curb cuts as we would give them. It kind of just depends on
It
future
just-
expansion there.
Right, but, cars and 18-wheelers, trying to get around back there, as they have trucks coming in to resupply. And then the other companies, the other businesses down have trucks coming in to resupply them as well, I just am concerned about that, not having a way to get out before having to hit all that. But that's me.
Yes.
So, Peter Brenninger with PB2 Architecture and Engineering. We are the architect of record on the project. So in terms of the parking required, we have there's supposed to be 726 spaces and we have 1,057 spaces.
I meant curbside parking
Curbside,
specifically.
we have both curbside and pharmacy. Curbside is in the neighborhood of 40 to 50. And pharmacy, it'll be a drive-through or a canopy pharmacy, so it'll be 5 spaces for that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pam.
So I had just a question of curiosity, if I may.
ahead.
Does this store build out, the original one, predate the overlay standards?
I believe so, several years. I don't recall the year the overlay was adopted, but I do know this HEB, I believe, started under construction 07, 08 timeframe.
Right.
May have been permitted prior to that.
Yeah.
The overlay district was implemented in 2003, and the store was built around 2007, 2008.
So,
The reason I was asking is the current store seems to be like concrete panels or tilt wall plus eaves and glass and corrugated metal now. And if I'm reading this correctly, there's going to be an attempt to use more materials, different materials, that more or less conform to the overlay standards now. Am I understanding that correctly?
there's a mix. I mean, it's not going to get close to the 90% that we've discussed in here. It will kind of match what's there. I don't think any of us were around when the first building was built, so I couldn't tell you what that process was going through the I-35 overlay. But they're trying to do an addition that matches the existing and still kind of meet our codes. And then obviously sticking with their brand, that's a big issue for them as well. We did have conversations early on about trying to bring the building up to code, to standard, adding more brick to some of the existing facades. But there's structural issues with that when, those walls, those footings were just not designed for that type of engineering. And so to kind of come back after the fact, I mean, that'd be very difficult to do.
Well, at least the eaves that I've seen out there already, do mimic the stucco finish.
Yes.
So,
Jason, just a quick one on the landscaping. I'm assuming that the landscaping, if we're not seeing that plan here, it's going to meet our city codes and the objectives of the I-35 overlay.
Yes, sir. We've done our first round of review comments, sent those out. We're just waiting for those updates. I think the biggest issues from a staff perspective were the trees in the parking areas for the new reconfiguration, make sure they hit that. And then there was some mitigation. They were because of the driveway configuration, they were taking out a couple of trees. There was I think a 15-inch oak tree that was planned to be removed. One of our comments was to see if they could do something to kind of redesign to try and save that. So that'll be something we'll work through in the future. But as with anything, all site plans, we review them for accuracy and adherence to our codes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Shield.
All right, if you'll go back to the picture of the side view or the I-35 view, that one. So is the curbside area going to be painted blue?
Yes, these are the colors that you'll see being represented. They were in your packet. I don't have them offhand in this presentation, but those are the colors that.
That's
they're
what I thought.
looking
I
for,
was just
yes.
making sure. And that falls within our,
We don't have a required color. We
Okay.
have a preferred color for the red and the white limestone, but that's not a requirement that
Okay.
we can put on.
I just wanted to double check, just because that's pretty bright.
Yes, ma'am.
And I understand why, don't get me wrong, it's just, woo. Okay. That was it.
Go ahead.
at this time, unless there's further questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve this conditional use permit as considered.
Okay, so we have a motion.
But you need us to add more language to that?
Yeah, if y'all are okay, if you're comfortable with staff handling the site plan and you don't want to see that, if you can add that to your motion, but that's at your discretion.
Okay, I would amend that then to continue on to approve the conditional use permit with the stipulation that the staff continue to work with the applicant on the landscaping and other related issues on site planning.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Stiegel. I have a second.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Mata, second, that we approve the site plan as shown and allow the city to continue to work the plan for landscaping. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, so we'll move to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5, reports and presentations. We have Open Meetings Act training, and training is going to be provided by our Amy Alcorn-Reed, our city attorney. Amy, over to you.
Good evening, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Amy Alcorn-Reed, City Attorney. So I like to do these trainings about once a year, every 2 years, because they're just a good reminder of some really important things. I think the timing right now is really good because I understand you guys are about to go. Some of you might be going to a planning conference where there might be more than one of you in a room at a time. So it's a good time to have some reminders. So the general rule under the Texas Open Meetings Act is that every meeting, every conversation between a quorum of the board about public business needs to be open to the public. In general, it applies any time that there is a governmental body, which you are a governmental body, and that body is meeting. And just a reminder that because the Planning and Zoning Commission is a more than advisory committee, the state law does apply to Planning and Zoning Commission members. Sometimes on an advisory committee, they'll say, well, the state law doesn't technically apply to us, but the council says that they have to, or the charter says that they have to follow it. For you guys, the state says you have to follow it. So it's a little bit different. So the definition of a meeting is a gathering of a quorum of the governmental body. That's 4 of you. I'm sure you guys know that. And a discussion of public business. Typically, and this is important because if you guys are at social events or you go to a convention or a conference at the same time, typically the presence of a quorum at a social event or a conference is not considered a meeting as long as you don't take any formal action, which of course you can't do. And you don't just, the discussion of public business is really just incidental. It's not like the purpose of the function is to talk about public business. So generally speaking, if you go to a social event, if you're all at the same, city event or city park event or whatever, as long as you're not talking about, as long as the point isn't to be there to talk about the Planning and Zoning Commission or some conditional use permit or something, you're probably okay. But you still have to remember to keep any conversation about public business to be very minimal, and typically not when everybody else is standing next to you. So here's some examples of meetings. I find these interesting, and I used to have an example that I finally removed, but it was basically if a quorum of you is in the bathroom together and you talk about public business, that's a meeting. So it's pretty much anywhere where there's a quorum of you talking about public business. The most surprising one tends to be electronic communications, and there have actually been charges filed on this, like communicating amongst a quorum through a group text, even like on Facebook, if you're all commenting on the same article and then you start commenting on each other's comments and all of a sudden there's a quorum right there commenting on this article, that can be problematic. So all meetings are required to be open. There are a few requirements that go into an open meeting. You have to provide your 72 hours notice. This is a big one. You have to be in the state of Texas. So if you're going to a conference that is not in the state of Texas, that cannot be an open meeting. We cannot post it. It's not a meeting. So you need to make sure that you don't accidentally have a closed meeting that doesn't have public access while you're outside of the state. Meetings have to be accessible to the public, including ADA compliance, so they have to be able to get to the room through ADA compliance. You have to give the public a chance to speak. That's actually a relatively new law, but it's nice. You have to have public comment period. You can't vote by secret ballot. People like to do that. You can't do it. And you can't take any action behind closed doors. All your votes have to be here in public where the public can see them. The reason this is important, there are criminal violations related to the Open Meetings Act, and we're not talking, Class C minimum fines. These are jail time. These are large fines for violating the Open Meetings Act. So it's very important that we make sure that everybody knows all of the rules so that we can all stay safe. The things that are considered criminal violations: participating in a closed meeting other than a permissible executive session. So if you have an executive session on your agenda, I will have reviewed that executive session and confirmed that it is legal, and then we can go in the back room after opening the meeting. But if you discuss something among a quorum and you're not in that situation, that's a closed meeting in violation of this act. If you participate in a closed meeting and you know we're not making a certified agenda, again, we always make certified agendas. There's going to be one. But if for some reason we came in and said, hey, nobody's keeping an agenda of this one, everybody get out. You're not supposed to be part of that meeting. You can't disclose the certified agenda except to a member of the, members of the board can go review the certified agenda at the city secretary's office, but we can't disclose it to the public. And then the walking quorum is the most difficult one, so I'm going to talk about that one a little bit more. A walking quorum has been defined by courts in a couple of ways. Basically, it's a series of meetings among less than a quorum, but that at the end of the series, a quorum has talked. And there was kind of a recent change to clarify after a court found the walking quorum statute to be kind of vague. So there was a recent change to clarify that the board members or council members do have to know that the conversation's happening among a quorum. But there are a lot of ways this can happen. One of the classic examples is that a staff person, say like I call Commissioner Shield and Commissioner Serrato to come to my office, we're gonna have a meeting. And then when that meeting ends and we talk about whatever's going on, Commissioner Serrato calls Commissioner Stiegel, Commissioner Shield calls Commissioner Mata. All of a sudden, there's a quorum. And so it started as not a violation, but then you get to the squishy, it might be a violation. And these are things that used to happen kind of regularly, and that's how this became a law. People would come and meet city manager, 2 council members at a time or something, and it's difficult for the public to participate in that. So basically the purpose of the Open Meetings Act is to ensure that all deliberations occur in a public forum, so the public can hear them. But the Open Meetings Act does not define a deliberation as a verbal or oral deliberation. It can be in writing. So emails are a danger. To avoid that danger, staff should always BCC your board if we're copying all of you. Because there was a city that actually where the council members actually did get in trouble for replying all to emails. They didn't notice that everybody was copied, or maybe they did it intentionally, I don't know. But replying all to emails is dangerous, so you should always be blind copied. And then of course you should be concerned about, you should pay attention to your social media use. Make sure you're not all in a social media group commenting about something that isn't open to the public or isn't part of a meeting. And then I have some best practices here on the next slide, but I'm typically overly cautious as lawyers are. So my best practices are err on the side of caution. If you want to be really safe, don't even friend each other on social media. Don't participate in conversations, even individually, outside of meetings. So anyway, does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks very much. I think we all understand the concept of the walking quorum and how tricky that is. One thing we can do in our commission is look out for each other. We can be led down the garden path with a chain of emails, so it wouldn't hurt to advise somebody that's participating in that, and if you see a chain email like that or a set of phone calls, happen to let the person know that, hey, this is a TOMA violation, and just be careful. And we can all make that kind of mistake. So we'll just look after each other in that sense and keep our collective selves out of trouble. So, all right, thank you very much. Any other comments from the floor? Okay, let's move on to Item number 6, adjournment. Having concluded our business today and no further business, the meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission is adjourned.